Overdrive fourth hour today is Randy Kelton. I remember 10 years ago researching mortgage fraud and hearing about how they were selling the mortgages over and over again at different institutions as derivatives. This all really kicked off 11 years ago with the end of Glass-Steagall that Bill Clinton honchoed through with the Republicans as well in 1999. So it allows them to go away from fractional reserve banking, where a bank can loan out $10 for every dollar it's got in holdings, to just unlimited. And they've now created 1.5 quadrillion, 1,500 quadrillion dollars conservatively. That number's about a year old. So it's impossible to ever pay this back. But they hold the economy hostage, saying, give us trillions more, which they then use for bonuses. Wall Street's record profits, the bank's record profits, everybody else worldwide going into a black hole. And now it's confirmed. CNN's reported it. We played the clips. People's homes who were paid for are being taken. Multiple banks are trying to foreclose on the same house. Or Obama claimed he had this plan to let people renegotiate. They go in to renegotiate, sign papers, then they take the house. Just every form of criminality going on. So a few months ago, it's like conspiracy theorists. I saw headlines. Conspiracy theorists and patriots are filing paper terrorism and lying and saying that banks are taking homes without the deeds. This is a lie. That's just 2 months ago. Now, everywhere, AP, Reuters, headlines, Bank of America suspends all foreclosures. The other 4 big banks suspend as well. Government, Harry Reid calls on Obama to suspend it. Mortgage fraud, BBC headline, Obama to allow banks to continue mortgage fraud. But to quantify this and to cover a wide spectrum of it is Randy Kelton, because I've been studying this for 10 years since I learned about it. I mean, people were telling me about this 10 years ago, and I've done research and don't want to give advice about mortgages because it's very complex. But over time, I've learned quite a bit. And I like Randy because he's a pro se litigant and researcher. It means he's not a lawyer, but he does advise lawyers and many others. He has his own radio show on ruleoflawradio.com. And Randy's an Austinite. I've interviewed him many years ago before, and he stood up against corrupt police. And that's where he started, was in the trenches, just dealing with the Bill of Rights and common law. And this mortgage situation over the last 5 years gets brought to him so much, he's researched it. And he's researched the cases that have been won, the cases that have been lost. They've had I'd say 90+% success rate blocking foreclosures with just simple things they do. But he will tell you there's no silver bullet. The courts are incredibly corrupt. Anybody, and I hear this all over talk radio. I hear it everywhere. And I hear it on other shows on this network. Saying, and I'm not trying to attack people, maybe it's going to work. But the point is, when they say 100%, we can fix it, send us $10,000. In my opinion, don't walk, don't run, sprint away from that. Okay, I like Randy because he just goes off the facts, and he's so busy he won't usually even take more people to help because he's overwhelmed. That's the mark of somebody real. But regardless, I want Randy to have the floor and spend the first few segments quantifying how the mortgages work, what the mirror system is, why all this is coming to a head, the announcement that they've passed the law. CNBC on Monday had the headline, CNBC analyst predicts that Obama will legalize mortgage fraud. Well, they already passed the law 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. Obama has pocket vetoed. He didn't get rid of it. He just set it aside till after the election. So just like Bush got caught with warrantless wiretapping on Americans and lied about it, they then had Congress pass a law retroactively making it legal. But if they do this, there's no confidence in mortgages, private property. This is so big. A lot of people are like, well, I don't have a bad mortgage. Folks, they're taking houses that are paid for. This is on mainstream news.
As a foreclosure defense attorney, this is sweet justice.
Only on Wink tonight, the tables are turned. Instead of Bank of America foreclosing on a home, a homeowner has deputies foreclose on the bank.
Bank of America filed foreclosure papers on a homeowner who didn't owe a dime. They paid for their house with cash.
Renee Stoll live at the Bank of America branch on Davis Boulevard in Naples with this story you'll see only on Wink tonight.
This is about a family who fought back and won. Their foreclosure nightmare started when they bought a house in the Golden Gate Estates owned by Bank of America. Like you said, they paid cash, so they never had a mortgage. Well, Bank of America fouled it up somewhere along the lines and actually tried to foreclose on the family. And what happened today, you're just going to have to see to believe. Movers, a truck, and an armed deputy, all while a nervous homeowner stands by and waits. This is normally what you'd see when a person's being foreclosed on and their property seized by a bank. But today, it's the other way around.
They've ignored our calls, ignored our legally, this is the next step to get my clients compensated.
A Collier County judge said Bank of America had to pay Maureen Nairges and her husband's legal fees after the bank tried to foreclose on their Golden Gate Estates property, but they paid cash. The courts agreed they never had a mortgage to begin with. After more than 5 months, the bank still hadn't paid up. So the homeowner's attorney did just what the bank would do to get their money: seize their assets.
I instructed the deputy to go in and take desks, computers, copiers, filing cabinets, including cash in the drawers.
Outside the bank, several deputies stood by with movers ready to start hauling out the bank's office supplies and furniture. Inside, the homeowner's attorney was locked out of the bank manager's office by deputies, while the bank manager tried to figure out what to do.
He was visibly shaken. Having two sheriff's deputies sitting across your desk and a lawyer standing up behind them, demanding whatever assets are in the bank, it can be intimidating. But so is having your home foreclosed on when it wasn't right.
After about an hour, the bank finally cut a check.
As a foreclosure defense attorney, this is sweet justice, because this is a symptom of a larger problem.
Now, the homeowner's attorney says that he sees mistakes all the time in foreclosure court where banks do not do their due diligence, and it winds up becoming a very lengthy process for the homeowners. He says he can only think of one other time where an attorney, the deputies, and a U-Haul came to a bank before ready to seize property. That was in Tampa. As far as Bank of America, they issued a statement saying that they apologized for the wait on the payment. They issued a notice to pay from the attorney that was working on the case on their side, but they didn't know the attorney went out of business. We'll be reporting live here in Naples. Renee Stoll, Wink News now.
All right, Renee, thank you.
In fact, we can search the term. Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan, both will do it. Takes house that they didn't even own. Court rules against them taking house that was paid for that they didn't have a deed to, because the Chinese, the Europeans, individual pension funds, you're hearing they're in trouble now. They've all been sold this. So, Randy, let's go over how a mortgage really works, what this does to the fundamentals of land ownership in this country. One of the things that made us so great, you could get clearer title here than anywhere else in the world, and what this means, this total shift and where you see it going. So let's go over mortgages, and then just of the cornucopia, some of the biggest scams they're running.
Yes. Quickly, I'll go through how the mortgages work. In the late 80s, early 90s, first Clinton and then Bush, under the guise of making housing available to the poor, removed two primary protections that lenders had that restricted the actions of the, restricted the actions of the lenders to protect the borrowers. Instead of making houses available to the poor, what they did was went to people in good, stable loans, building equity in their houses, and convinced them to do the one thing that had always been taboo: to speculate with your home. Oh, yeah, look at this. The market is going straight up. You sell this crummy old house you're in, buy this real expensive one you can't afford. Don't worry about it. A couple of years, price will go up. You'll be inverted. You can get a new loan on it. You'll have so much equity in it, you'll owe almost nothing. People bought this story. They thought that the mortgage industry was increasing, that the demand for property was increasing. It wasn't an increase in demand. It talked all these people again to getting out of the houses they were in and moving into another one. So it was a movement. And the movement created a bubble. They knew full well it was creating a bubble. At about the same time, somebody come up with this great idea. We have all of these investment funds, primarily your retirement and my retirement. All of this money building up in these long-term funds that need a place to invest. And they come up with a great idea how to strip all of it. First, we strip the equity from the property owner by getting him to sell his property and commit his equity to a new purchase that the lender intends they cannot pay. And then we sell this as a security into an investment pool and get the borrower's employers to invest their retirement fund in the investment pool, and in the end game, we'll steal it all, and that's exactly what they're doing.
And we saw them in 07. the very financial publications that have promoted this fraud, we saw them start to bash the housing system and purposefully cause the bubble to pop. Then we saw in October of 08, Paulson and others, the head of the Treasury, the head of the Federal Reserve, come out and badmouth and say we're going into a depression to further destroy confidence because there was so much irrational exuberance that they'd injected into us that people weren't popping the bubble. And so they came in and popped it themselves.
Precisely. And there was one other thing that occurred that allowed this to happen. In 1907, there was a major stock market crash. This crash was caused because people were allowed to invest in a stock without owning it. They could go into what they called a bucket shop. You can look on the internet and do a search for financial weapons of mass destruction.
It's kind of like naked shorting.
Yeah, and 60 Minutes did a little section on this. After the crash of 1907, the legislature said, no more of that, it's felony to do it. Last thing the legislature did in the year 2000 was remove that restriction. Then the banksters could start selling derivatives again. This is absolutely unregulated speculation. So a lender goes to you and induces you into a loan that you cannot pay. And it is his intent that you cannot pay it. Most people, when they hear that, they think of a mortgage company like we think of It's a Wonderful Life, where a bank gathers funds from the neighborhood, loans out those funds, collects them back over time at a profit.
Mr. and Mrs. Martini, welcome home.
Hello, George. He's always making a speech.
Hee-haw! Sam Wainwright.
Oh, who cares? Bread, that this house may never know hunger. Salt, that life may always have flavor.
And wine, that joy and prosperity may reign forever. Enter the Martini Castle.
After these changes in the late 90s, that's not what happened anymore. Now there was an opportunity for a lender, for someone to go into business as a mortgage company. Go to a large lender, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, get a large loan, convert that loan into 20 and 30-year mortgages. Problem they had is they had to pay that loan back within 6 to 9 months. So they never had any intention of keeping the loan. They go to the seller, extract a loan from their credit line, give the seller a promissory note with instant value, present value, check. They, in return for the title, they take the title, they trade it to the buyer for a promissory note with no present value, but with increased future value. Well, they need present value, pay back the bank. So they take that and sell it to an investment pool. Special purpose vehicle, a special purpose vehicle created for the purpose of gathering together a bunch of loans into a single pool, and then they file it with the IRS as a real estate mortgage investment conduit.
And they filed it as derivatives with no deed.
Yeah, well, they get it there. And the problem with it, that would have been bad enough, but they didn't just sell it to a special purpose vehicle. They sold it to lots of special purpose vehicles, selling the same note 20 to 30 times. It was just an unregulated glut on the market.
And that's what the media is just now getting around to admitting. That's why you'll have 2, 3, 4, 5 banks trying to foreclose on the same apartment house or the same home or the same golf course, because there's an even bigger swindle. They didn't just AAA rate bad mortgages to people that couldn't pay it back. That was just the vector point where the epicenter. The real fraud is they've sold these over and over again in literal counterfeiting.
Exactly. Most people think that the banks defrauded them. What they did to you is chump change. The one they're really after is the backside investor. That's the one they really defrauded, and they created your note as a vehicle to perpetrate the further fraud. And in the process of doing it, the more expensive they could create, more expensive a loan product they could create, the more profit they made immediately when they sold it to the investor.
Because all these different investment vehicles, as they pass it on the line, they're getting fees.
Yes, and they do more than that. They gather these together and they monitor the income streams. What they guarantee to the investor is an income stream. So if one's producing well, then other one's not, they do credit default swaps.
All right, well, stay there. Let's continue. And they have fake insurance put on it, and that's something else they sell. We'll be right back. Vietnam veteran, crusader against corrupt courts, really researching the mortgage situation. So, Randy, they've sold all these derivatives now. China, the EU, pension funds, and they told us back in October of 2 years ago, they said, oh, we're going to need these billions, these trillions to unfreeze mortgages. But the day after October 4th, Paulson said, we're going to spend it on something else. We're not going to tell you. Then they didn't even fix the derivatives problem. They took it as bonuses. And now here we are 2 years later. Let's go over what's happening in courts, why they're stopping many of the foreclosures now, why they're trying to get Obama to sign a law to legalize all this. Because I know most of the fraud's at the institutional level and pension level, but individually, the 100,000 homes in foreclosure a month, according to the federal government, at record levels. What is, in the gamut, what are some of the most common frauds the banks are engaged in?
One of the first things they do is they convince the loan broker, the person who brings the customer to the lender, they convince him to breach his fiduciary duty to the borrower by lying to him and telling him that the property is worth a whole lot more than it is. And you tend to believe that because the appraiser will appraise it for a whole lot more than it's worth.
So there's systemic fraud.
Yeah, and the appraiser will appraise it for a whole lot more than it's worth because only the banks can hire appraisers by the bank's rules. This way they get to increase the initial amount of the value of the property. They get to increase the initial amount of the loan, and they collect fees at closing. If anybody has a loan here, you look at your HUD-1 settlement statement and list all the fees they charged you. Good portion of those are forbidden to be charged to you. They charge those to you, then take those fees, give them to the broker under the table. The broker who brings you the loan is only allowed to receive 1% of the principal of the note as a commission. That's so that everywhere the broker looks, everybody's going to pay him the same. However, the lenders are sliding the money under the table to get them to lie to the borrower and bring him a more expensive loan product. When they do that, then the lender can take the loan. As soon as you sign it, he's going to take it and sell it. He will receive consideration from the investor, but he keeps the lien. He'll sell the note. The note is it's like a check. You write a check, that's a security instrument. You write a note, that's a security instrument that doesn't get collected all in one moment. It gets collected monthly over a period of years. Essentially, it's the same thing. So he takes that check and he sells it to the investor, but he doesn't give him the lien document. The document that is there to protect him in case you don't pay. And it took a long time to figure that out because the Supreme Court of Kansas addressed this issue, and they said, well, you can separate these two. It's legal. But if you do that, then you've created a fatal flaw in that the guy who purchased the security instrument, he has a claim against the property. But no, I'm sorry, he has a claim against the signator on the note, the guy who signed it, but no claim against the property. The lender holding the lien, he has a claim against the property, but he received consideration. He can't be harmed. So the lien's void.
So that's how you have multiple banks coming after the same property.
Oh, they'll get, no, what the lender then did, the special purpose vehicle that purchased the note, he combined it into a whole bunch of different pools. Instead of one real estate mortgage investment conduit, he combined it into a whole bunch of them and sold them over and over again. So he got multiple consideration for the note. What we're saying is even if you didn't pay the note, and even if the payment is owed, the question becomes, who's it owed to? Who actually owns it?
So that's how they're taking houses that are completely paid for, because it doesn't matter, because somebody else can claim they have some type of ownership to it.
Exactly. We have a guy in California that Bank of America came and took his house. 2 months later, Chase came and tried to take his house. They all think they own it. They've sold it to everybody. But the question I had was, why would the lender keep the security, keep the lien, if it caused this much of a problem? He kept it because he'll hold it for 3 years, file a trustee IRS Form 1099-A, write it all off his capital gains tax as abandoned funds. He gets consideration a second time. And then once he sells the note to the investor, he becomes the servicer of the note. If you pay the note on time, he gets 3% of the payment. Pay it late, he gets an extra 5%. It is in his best interest to create a loan the borrower has to struggle to pay and regularly pays late. And if you default, he'll make about 50 grand on the default. Actually, he'll make more than that. It's too complex here to explain that one.
And they had to know it was going to destroy the economy when this went belly up, but don't worry, they've got the next answer. Give the bankers global government power, have global VAT taxes, carbon taxes to create the new global bubble. We'll be back. Long 18-minute segment coming up. I'm Alex Jones with Randy Kelton. We're going to be going into overdrive the full fourth hour at Infowars.com and carried by all of our wonderful affiliates. Randy Kelton, Pro Se Litigant and researcher, is here with us. So we're going through what these derivatives are, how this is working. We were talking during the break, clearly engineered by design. Then we're not going to just look at the fraud, at the home buyer level and what this is going to do to society, but also the international fraud, the real fraud, and what dwarfs the original genesis of all of this, but continue walking through this, and then let's get into how the banks are losing in court now, and what it's going to do if the government comes out and says, look, banks can take any houses they want. It doesn't matter if it's all illegal. We've got to let them do this. Too big to fail.
Yes. I hear that might happen, but somehow I think it won't. I think it's worse than I would imagined. I tend not to like conspiracy theories. I don't want it to be that way. But this one was forced down my throat. All of these things are too well engineered to have happened by mistake. They just all fit together. The biggest problem I'll get to in a moment. The lender, he's this sharp point of the spear. He's the one that convinced the individual to go into a loan product he could not afford, and he did it because he profited at every turn. He profited when he sold the note. He profited when he filed the 1099-A. He profited when you paid late. He profited when you default. And all of that was chump change. The real profit he got, the credit default swaps, are essentially a form of insurance. If you look at your HUD-1 settlement statement, you'll see mortgage, MPI, mortgage insurance protection. If you default on the note, the insurance company will pay him 80% of the principal based on that insurance premium. What you don't know is on the derivatives market, he'll get another 8 to 10 of those. Anybody who thinks your lender is going to give you a modification, you are dreaming.
That's coming out in the news now, that they do these bait and switches. Oh, there's a federal program, and people are going in to modify, and then they're baiting and switching and then grabbing the house right there.
Yes, I have a quick story of a friend of mine, happened to a friend of mine, and I've read exactly the same story 3 times. We're going to modify. I said, they're not going to modify, Ken. Oh, yeah, they're going to modify. Sure, Ken. No, they're going to modify. They're going to help me. No, they're going to screw you. So he's going to modify. They tell him there's 2 documents that we need, but we don't know what they are. He spent 6 weeks trying to find out what they were. On a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, they called him and told him, you didn't get us those 2 documents, so we denied your modification. They sold his house within minutes.
Sheriff's Department, come to the door.
What?
Sheriffs are here.
Why are they here? He saw it. Right, they see you through the window. Just answer. We just gotta explain it. Okay.
Don't fucking do this.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm Deputy Anderson with the Sheriff's Department, and we're here to serve you with a court-ordered eviction.
Okay, well...
So, sir, ma'am, do you have any weapons on your body or anywhere in the house that we need to know about?
No. Not us.
Mr. Carver?
Good morning, sir. Ma'am, my name's Rick Carver. I'm a licensed real estate broker.
Mr. Carver.
Rick? Hi.
And I'm very sorry to tell you that this home has been foreclosed on and officially transferred to the bank. And I'm going to need you to please vacate the premises.
No, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Carver, and we've been getting our eviction notices. I was in court yesterday.
Yeah.
And the judge informed me that I got 30 days to file for an appeal, and that's what I intend to do.
Well, if you posted bond and you have an emergency stay signed by the judge, you're welcome to
Well, I got a question. You guys didn't get any rescheduling of the
What I've
eviction
received
date?
is a court order signed by a judge. It says you are to vacate these premises today.
We were scared
This
of
home
this.
is owned by the bank.
This is the information that we have, you understand?
And we're sorry to waste your time,
Yeah,
but they
sorry.
obviously
My
didn't
office
reach you.
offered you $3,500 cash for key settlement from the bank,
We're
which
aware
would
of
have
that.
given you plenty of time to vacate the premises, and you refused.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, we didn't refuse. We tried to
So
save our
I'm-
home.
We were
I'm
trying to save
sorry.
our home.
I know this is a very painful time. I know, and it's
Well-
a difficult thing to carry through on for me as well. But the time has come. You have to leave the property. You are trespassing right now. You are breaking the law.
Sir, this is our home.
All right.
So we just
Well,
need
we're going
a
in
few
circles
minutes.
here, so I'm going to let the sheriffs take care of it. Okay, Randy?
All right, sir.
Well, we've got a judge, sir,
ma'am.
and a lawyer who told
Sir,
us
is
we
this-
can stay.
Sir, is this your mom?
Yeah, this is my
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to need you and your mom to step off the property now.
Just, you know what?
Give
If
us
you all can
24
come
hours.
back,
What we're gonna do?
24 hours.
What
come
I'm gonna
back
do?
tomorrow, same time. And
I'm
if we
gonna
don't
do-
have the
Figure it out.
papers, we don't have the proof,
We're in
then
process
we
with a
will
lawyer.
leave.
We have a lawyer.
Then we will
we got it all
leave.
figured
Okay.
out.
Folks,
Just give us
listen,
a day.
listen to me.
Give us a
we
day.
can dance together, but we can't talk together.
Okay.
We need
All right.
not, do
Let's-
not close
sir,
the door.
we
Do
need
not
a
close
day.
the door.
We need a
All
day.
right.
We need
Listen,
a day.
this is
Please.
what I'm going to do.
Excuse
No,
me.
do not close
We
the
need
door.
a day.
Can't do
We
that.
need a day.
What I
This
will
is my
do
home.
is
I
I
can do
will give
whatever I
you
want.
2 minutes to pack whatever belongings you need, cash, checkbook,
No, this isn't
medicine,
happening.
anything that you need. Yeah, this is happening.
No,
All
this
right,
is
look.
not happening.
I'm
The
getting my
judge said I
cell
got
phone
30
so I can get
days.
the lawyer out.
So this
All right,
can't
ma'am,
be
ma'am,
happening
go
today.
keep-
Ma'am,
Whoa, excuse me. Wait,
Sir,
what?
Just walking by, sir.
I don't know if this
Sir,
is...
we can't let someone walk
Excuse me,
outside
can you-
once we start.
Excuse me, please don't
Sir,
come into my
listen to
house.
me. Listen to me, sir. There are 2 ways that we can do this. All right, an easy way, which you do what you're told and asked. All right. The other way is that I take you and your mom to jail. Okay. Do you want your mom to go to jail? What I'd like you to do, take advantage of the 2 minutes, gather what you need, as far like cash, checkbooks, medicines, things that you need.
Excuse
and
me, sir.
vacate
Would
the
you
property.
would you mind stepping outside of the property, sir?
Listen to me, sir. All right. Let me put it to you this way.
Excuse me,
All right.
This isn't
Sir.
your home, son.
Mr. Carver.
Excuse me?
Mr. Carver.
According to Florida statute 801.08, I have the authority to
Sir,
take
we
you.
have the right to an
You're not charged
attorney,
with criminal offense,
right?
but I have a right to an
Then
attorney.
why are you
This is
bringing
a
us
civil
our
that a
home
lawyer
again?
would
And
do.
somebody forgot to call you? We don't get a lawyer? Why
It's
am
better
I
not
gonna
to get
believe you?
emotional
You're
right
kicking
now.
us out of our house.
Please, okay,
How about
please.
hard?
Ma'am, please don't escalate.
All right, look,
Please.
enough of this. Let's go. Let's go. Get what you need to get. Where you need to go. Let's go. No more of this.
Where it belongs. Money.
Sir, I don't need your help, okay? I can take a minute. You need to follow a woman into her bedroom? Is that what's happening?
It's department policy. I can't listen.
You got a full house here. I'm gonna have to be late to the next one. I know.
It's just department policy.
Nice.
Money, checkbook, things like wallets, pictures.
I'm trying to get pictures!
Does he have to stand there with her?
Yes, sir. Yes.
He has to fucking stand there while she packs up her fucking underwear? Is that right?
Dennis,
Policy.
please!
When was it better?
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
You gotta keep you on my side, ma'am. Sorry about that. Anyway, ma'am, just the most important things.
What else, Mom? Can I ask? It says 2 minutes on your clipboard.
Sir, the 2 minutes is courtesy. Let her take the plan.
You don't need your plan.
2 minutes is what?
A courtesy.
Oh my God.
You're trespassing right now.
Oh my God.
I know
just
it's
go.
painful to hear, but it's the truth.
Just. This is our home. Oh my God.
Anything else, ma'am?
Oh, my toaster. My toaster oven. Make toast for my grandson.
Uh-huh. Ma'am? All right.
Did you get your check?
Randy, you said the 2 minutes was up.
I'm getting the
right?
bills. I'm just getting the
All right,
bills.
let's go,
Right.
folks. Let's go.
Dennis. It's basketball. It's basketball.
ma'am.
But just like my
Will
grandson.
you just let her go in and get the...
All right, Jeff, get to it.
All right,
Line
there we
up,
go.
hit the locks.
Wait, what about the rest of our things?
They're going to bring everything out to the front of the property, ma'am. There's no need to worry about that. Mind helping me move all this to the other side of the sidewalk, please?
We're moving, okay? Just give us a second.
Now, my advice would be to get a moving truck, because your neighbors are going to have access to everything you own by the end of the day.
I got it.
Can you believe this? They canceled it, and then they didn't even tell these guys. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
Hey!
Anything that you can't take.
What are you doing?
Some moving stuff.
Well, don't go in there. You got no business going in there.
All right.
Shut the lid.
Pants on.
I'll take him next door.
Okay.
Okay?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, bub.
What are they doing?
Nothing.
This is our house.
Hey.
This is our house.
Okay,
Connor.
Hey, son, where you at?
Get away from him. Please, get away from him.
It's a very difficult situation. Please, baby, take your son off the property.
What do you think I'm doing?
Those are my toys. It's okay.
Baby,
It's okay,
hey.
sweetie. Come here. Connor, just tell me. I just want to go to my room, please.
You can't go to your room right now.
You said we weren't going to this house. You lied to me. You lied.
I've read this in 3 separate lawsuits. They set you up. Once you go in, try to go into modification, they tell you you don't qualify unless you're at least 2 payments behind. You're in modification, and you get this notice of acceleration of the note. And you say, wait, what is this? Oh, don't worry about that. Nothing.
They induce you to give them the 2 payments behind to trigger the foreclosure.
Exactly. And then they run the foreclosure while they're doing the pre-10 modification.
Well, that's like CPS in every state in the union. They also do this overseas. It's the same, unified continuity of agenda. They say, just sign these forms and agree to go to counseling and you'll get your baby back. And while they've got their own hired psychiatrist lying about you who work for them, they are already going to the court behind your back to terminate permanently parental rights. So they put you into a process to get you to sign more forms, and the whole thing is to create false hope, and it's sold to the public as a way to help your mortgage, and the whole thing is to induce more fraud.
Yeah, and even if you do get a modification, the modifications they give are designed to fail. The modification is supposed to give you a lower payment for a period of time and then go back to the original.
And the modifications have accelerated foreclosure.
Yeah, and what actually happens is it's a lower payment for a period of time, and then it shoots way up to where it's impossible to pay. After modification, miss 1 payment, your history. They can foreclose immediately, and they set you up for that. Think about it. They're going to make 8 to 10 times the amount of the principal on your note if they foreclose. That's all they care about. And they will force you into foreclosure. What we did is worked on remedy. This is all we do is remedy. It's not polite to tell somebody you have a big problem unless you show them how to fix it. And we worked on a remedy because it became so clear if we don't do something.
Yeah, let's talk about the remedies you've done that are working well. Let's talk about the other cases that are being won against these crooks that are bringing them to their knees. Why they're freezing the foreclosures.
Just got a call from one of our people today. They've done it much worse than I expected, and that scares me. Because there's something more sinister underneath all of this. Because of the way the note has been sold around to different places, who owns the note? That is an incredibly major problem. This country became a mecca for foreign investment because in this country, if you purchase a piece of property, you can trace the ownership of that property back to the original land grant. That gave foreign countries confidence that they could invest and not have their investment taken away from them. Now, with what's happening, no one knows who owns what. This will create a problem that will haunt this country for generations and plunge us into the worst depression that we've ever seen, and I suspect worse than we even imagined.
What they're doing is they are clouding property rights and property deeds in this country to have government, as they're now announcing, come in and change fundamental property law in this nation in the name of fixing it.
Yes, they're going to bring us to third world status. they will plunge us into a depression that we have no way to get out of.
And China today said they're mad about this, and the New York Times is reporting they're freezing all rare earth mineral shipments to the United States.
I'm not surprised. China really got hoodwinked on this one. And a lot of the pressure that's on Bank of America is because China's suing them in The Hague for selling them the same notes 20 and 30 times over.
Okay, so let's get into, before we cover all that, because there's so much to get into here, because there's what's happening locally, and then there's the big international scheme. But go over the successes you and many others and lawyers are having in court by going in and showing the corruption, the fraud of the lenders, of the brokers, and others, and the fact that when you just sue them or kick it into criminal, that immediately checkmates them.
Yes, and that's why I say there's no magic here. There's no magic bullet. The courts are absolutely corrupt. If you go into court, you can expect the court to rule against you out of hand at every turn. Just expect that. If you hire an attorney, he'll take your money and he'll screw you royal. You get screwed even worse with the attorney because he's your attorney and he speaks for you, so you have no objection. If you go in pro se, the courts are going to rule against you because you're pro se. However, as pro ses, we have powers and abilities beyond those of mortal attorneys. As pro ses, there are tools we have we can use, and we've put together a program to take advantage of that. I suggest people go into the federal court, sue in the federal court pro se. Now, we know the court's going to rule against us, whether we have attorney or not attorney, so having one or not is not going to help us. But as pro ses, there are things we can do. The courts hate pro ses. They don't hate pro ses because pro ses write stupid pleadings. They hate pro ses because every once in a while they come across the pro se from hell. The pro se who knows the power he has. The pro se can go after the judge and go after the other attorneys with relative impunity. And there's only one way the judge has of influencing anyone in the case. He has to influence the attorney on the other side to your benefit to get you off of his case. But in order to get there, we have to give tools to the judge that he can use. Frankly, we seem to be getting far better opinions from the judges than I had expected.
Okay, but let's just quantify this before we get into some of the things you're doing. Some of the cases that are being won, the successes you're having in blocking them, but, I mean, there's been a lot of these big cases where the banks are losing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The judges... I've always said it's not about law, it's about politics.
Sure, but exactly, but I mean, what specifically is successful in court so far against them?
Who holds the note? First, whoever's doing the foreclosure, who are you? How do you have agency to represent the principal? And if you do have agency, even if you can prove it, most of these attorneys who are doing foreclosures don't have a contract with the principal. They just find out which loans are in foreclosure, and they just pick them up and run with them.
So they don't have real standing.
Have no standing at all. And the trick of agency cannot be proven out of the mouth of the agent. It must be proven out of the mouth of the principal, so who the heck is the principal? For the most part, the one doing the foreclosure has no clue.
And that's why the banks admit they've frozen the foreclosures. Most of the big ones have, Bank of America and the other four big ones, is because they're trying to find out who is the principal, who has standing in court.
Yes, and their problem is there's no way to do that. It's lost. 40% of all of the notes have been destroyed.
So the solution is Congress passes a law, Obama hasn't signed it yet, saying mega banks can take anything they want. They are now godlike. But then politically, to try that, that's going to cause a revolution, even with brain-dead fluoride heads. Hence, Time Magazine headline, prospect for civil war in U.S. doesn't seem that far-fetched.
Exactly. In looking at this, there may be another agenda. It may be that we're simply pawns, and to them we're not that important. I don't see that they have, that the real money people, the Bilderbergs and the other ones behind all of these, they don't care if they sacrifice the lender. And right now, the one thing they could do to stabilize this country and still keep their money is forbid the payment of the credit default swaps, the derivatives. If the insurer can no longer pay the derivative, then the bank doesn't have that motivation to foreclose. Now it has to foreclose based on the property itself. Now,
that's why the banks haven't cared about depressing the economy by all of this and destroying their original investment, because they're getting paid through the derivative.
They're getting paid through the nose, big time. We stop that, we stop a lot of their incentive. But what we're looking at is the first thing we create remedy.